Good morning, good life. You're listening to Detail Therapy, episode 72, featuring Tim Kight.
She's an award-winning YouTuber and best-selling author, obsessed with helping you go after the life you want.
I like it.
Join her as she seeks out the stories and strategies
Give me every little detail.
of extraordinary people who found success.
I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
Welcome to Detail Therapy with Amy Landino.
Imagine a line drawn horizontally, from left to right on a piece of paper. And above the line is the word discipline. And below that line is the word default. Can you see that? Discipline above the line, default below. Now, here's the thing. Life is a battle between those two things. That's the fight. Discipline behavior, default behavior.
That was just a little bit of my conversation with our guest today, Tim Kight. In this episode, we'll be discussing the details around what it takes to become an elite performer. What does it really mean to operate at that level? And how do we stop letting it just be a buzzword and actually get there? Also, what do we do about the blaming and complaining in our lives, whether it's coming from someone else or it's coming from your inner negativity? We're going to talk about what to do about that. And a 6-step process to train yourself to respond to situations differently so that what you do is aligned with the outcome you want. Do you know the life you want? Let's reverse engineer your way there. This is such a good one today. I cannot wait to share it with you. This was my first conversation with Tim, and it was epic. So get ready for that. Before we get into it, for those of you who are new to the show, my name is Amy Landino and I will be your host. You can think of me as your #1 productive lifestyle coach. I am the founder of Gatlu House, a resource dedicated to helping you go after the life you want. In addition to this podcast, we produce the award-winning YouTube series, Amy TV, which of course I'm also the host. I've authored 2 best-selling books, including Good Morning, Good Life, which is now available on Amazon. And I will link to everything in the show notes in our new home base of the internet, gatlu.com. I'm so excited to tell you about this too. So we made a big announcement last week. It's already been a very big April for us here at Gatlu House. We've officially launched gatlu.com. For those of you who are really new, Gatlu stands for Go After the Life You Want. And this is now going to be that go-to destination for all things productive lifestyle and success tips. So you can find information and links for Amy TV, detail therapy, blog posts, products we love, tools we recommend, even how to step your game up and take your business to the next level. It's all going to be there. This is just such an exciting moment for us because we finally have this one-stop shop for all things going after the life you want. So to do that is easier than ever before. So I would love it if you would go check that out. We're updating the homepage every day so that if you save gatlu.com as your homepage on your browser, you will have a little tidbit, a little soundbite, a little word of affirmation to start your day in the right direction. So let me know if you do that. Come talk to me on Instagram, share the love. We really appreciate your support so that we can do stuff like this for you. I told you last time that for those of you who made the time to pop on over to Apple Podcasts and share a review of this podcast that you love so much, I appreciate that. Thank you. You might win a copy of my latest book. And I am here to tell you that our latest winner is Lindsay Wilson. She said in her review, "I thought the way I was simply the way I was. I had no idea that the things I dreamt of doing were actually possible until I, quote unquote, met Amy. Her book, Good Morning, Good Life, has been an absolute game changer. The questions she asks her podcast guests makes me realize, hey, they're just like me." She says so much more. I can't read all this. It's so sweet. I just could not help myself but to say, Lindsay Wilson, thank you for your review of Detail Therapy in the Apple Podcast Store. We are sending you a copy of Good Morning, Good Life. Even though it sounds like you already have it, I'm going to sign one. I'm going to send it to you. And then the one that you've already read, you're going to have another copy probably with all your notes in it. And then this one I'm going to sign. If you decide to gift one of them, it's up to you. But we're sending it to you no matter what. Just pop an email over to hello@detailspodcast.com. And my team is going to set that up for you. If you would like to potentially be the next winner of a copy of Good Morning, Good Life, signed, sealed, delivered, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave your true and honest review. You could be next. With that, I'd like to introduce you to our guest for today, Tim Kight. Tim is the CEO of Focus 3, a firm whose mission is to help companies around the world align the power of leadership, culture, and behavior to achieve next-level results. A dynamic communicator, Tim focuses on the critical factors that distinguish great organizations from average organizations. He delivers a powerful message on the mindset and skills at the heart of individual and organizational performance. Let's get into it with Tim Kight. Tim Kight, welcome to the show.
Amy, it's awesome to be on your show.
Tell me, why do you do what you do?
You know, I've got to say that for the vast majority of my life, I have been passionate about the pursuit of a question. And here's the question. How do you achieve elite performance in your life? What is elite? How do you get it? How do you build it into your life? How do you get it back if you've lost it? And then in addition to that, if you're a leader, how do you create an environment, a culture that brings elite out in other people? So that's what drives me. That's why I do what I do, and it's been happening for me since early 1972, and it's been awesome.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, I have become aware of you very recently, but just already becoming such a fan. You are vlogging like a boss. I just want to say your videos are fantastic. I
Thanks.
love them. I think they're so motivating. And so can you kind of give an idea, like if you describe like what you do on a daily basis to help leaders with their culture and the behavior in their businesses, what does that tend to look like for you?
Yeah, that's so our company's called Focus 3, and that the 3 in that name is leadership, culture, behavior. That's what the 3 in our company name means. So what we do and what I've done my entire life long is I study the mindset and behavior skills of leaders. I study elite cultures, and then I study elite behavior. And then we put that together, Amy, in a system that any organization or team or school can use to increase leadership skill, increase the impact and power of culture, and to improve the effectiveness of people. And when you have strong leaders and a positive, proactive, strong culture with people disciplined behavior, that's awesome. That's when you get the so-called, and I'll talk about the so-called magic. So that's really what we do, and we work in 3 domains. We work in business, we work in athletics, and we work in schools and education. And those are our 3 main categories. And we're hired by those entities to come in and understand the current state of their leadership, culture, behavior, design a strategy to help improve, and then we launch. We train, we consult, we coach, and so that's a day-to-day thing for us.
Yeah, and I can imagine that this is just so vitally important in particular athletics, just because it's amazing that what you actually have to do as a performer, as an athlete, you really are performing in a lot of ways, and the pressure is really, really high. What people don't realize is that pressure can also play such a huge role for business leaders behind the scenes. All we tend to see is the front-facing branding and marketing and products and things like that. But what's actually happening behind the curtain is so important. And every once in a while, we hear the horror stories. We hear about bad leaders. We hear about things that are not happening very well behind the scenes. And I kind of want to talk about the business side of that. I think I've even heard you say this. We don't go into these situations as business leaders or even as individuals in an organization and say, I'm going to be average today.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really thinks that. And so what is it? Because elite is such a beautiful word.
Yeah.
What is it about the disconnect between there's no way anyone's jumping out of bed to be average, but for whatever reason, they haven't found what their stride is to be at that elite level?
Yeah, that's a world-class question. So let me back up for a second, though. I've primarily done business for years and years and years. And when I say business, I mean every conceivable organizational category: hospitals, manufacturing companies, accounting firms, law firms, all over the place. And then we started in athletics back in 2013 when Urban Meyer hired me to be the leadership coach for Ohio State football. And
Go Bucks.
yeah, go Bucks. And from there, we then picked up a lot of other athletic teams, male and female, outside football, other sports as well. And so and then a few years after that, we started in education. And people ask me all the time, knowing that I'm in those domains, they say, what's the difference between sort of elite performance in an athletic setting and elite performance in a business setting? And you mentioned, performance. So here, and I tell this to the athletes I work with, interesting distinction. If you are an athlete in college or even in high school, but let's take college for a second. You're an athlete in college and you play whatever sport, swimming, football, basketball, field hockey, whatever you play. The vast majority of your time is spent practicing, not performing on game day. You think about that for a second. The vast majority of athletes, because the nature of the sport, it's practice, 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 occasionally perform. And I tell this to all the athletes, when you graduate from college and you stop that sport and you move on to a job, every day is game day. You don't get to practice very much.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge shift. And I've had so many athletes over the years come back to me and say, Coach Kight, or TK, they call me a lot. They'll say, you were so correct. It's like the alarm goes on for the morning. It's game day every day. And you don't necessarily, you better manage your time to be able to find time to practice. Amy, does that make sense, the picture I just painted?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I am very fascinated by athletes and where they gravitate toward after their athletic career has come to a close in whatever way that is, because there's so much that they are taught in the mindset frame that we never see I have never played a sport. I've only ever been a wrestling statistician in my high school years.
Yeah.
And so I got a little glimpse, but for the most part, it was really just, you just hope that you're doing everything right every day of your life. Before you know it, you're in school and people are telling you got to decide what you're going to do with your life and you're going to go to college for it and all these things, right? But for athletes, they do have to practice so much that they get a lot of that mindset training. So seeing them go into the workforce and either decide to start a business or work as a real estate agent or something along those lines, it's really fascinating to see, one, how they adjust to not getting all those rounds in, and two, taking what the rounds were that they had been given and applying it in a new way.
Yeah, and we're very intentional about when we talk to an athletic group to say, we're going to teach you skills that will make you you'll train better, you'll team better, and you'll compete better if you use the skills and tools we give you. But larger than that, when you leave the sport, you can live and work better. That we teach, we call them behavior skills. And or you can call them life skills if you want, but they're skills for competition. They're skills for life and work. And it's not exclusively in the realm of competitive training and performance. It's also, like I said, for life and work. And you mentioned mindset, and we know this. It's just science. All performance begins in the mind. The brain tells the body what to do. The mind is always sending signals to the body, and the body listens and responds. That's a neuroscientific fact. I'll repeat that because it's worth saying again. Please. The mind is constantly sending messages to the body, and the body listens and responds. And what's heartbreaking to me, and I know you're very much about what motivates people and why they do what they do, like you asked at the opening. And this is what motivates me, why I do what I do. I care very much. I'm passionate about helping people have a better mind to live the life they want. I ask this question all the time to people. What is your plan for building the skills that you need for the life that you want?
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm stealing that question.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, no, distribute that question. And guess what answer I get back, Amy, from the vast majority of people?
Not much.
I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes back then to the question you asked about, you're right, and I've said it many times in keynotes, no one gets up in the morning and says, man, I'm going out there today, I'm going to have a mediocre day today, I'm pursuing average. They don't say that, but they end up doing that. And here's why. Here's a great way to think about it. And if I don't know how much of our stuff you've seen, but this is a great visual that we use. And again, we're talking science here, but science made simple. Imagine a line drawn horizontally, from left to right on a piece of paper. And above the line is the word discipline. And below that line is the word default. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Discipline above the line, default below. Now, here's the thing. Life is a battle between those two things. That's the fight. Discipline behavior, default behavior. That's the everyday battle. Discipline behavior is characterized by three things: intention, purpose, and skill. And default behavior is characterized by three things: impulse, autopilot, and resistance. And that means then the battle breaks down to three battles. Would be intention versus impulse is battle number one. Purpose versus autopilot is battle number two. And skill building versus resistance is battle number three. And I just described, that's life right there. Now, when I talk to a group of 10th graders, not athletes necessarily, just sophomores in high school, and I draw that on a whiteboard or a chalkboard in their classroom, there's no confusion. And the kids, and by the way, same thing if it's with an executive team of a global company, there's no confusion.
That's right.
And they look back and I say, you guys have any default in your life? I said, I know you can see default in somebody else, but that's not the question I'm asking. Is there default in your life? And here's the thing that's really interesting athletically and then on into the business world. You can be talented and on default.
Yes.
So what we do.
This, you know what this is? Sorry, not to interrupt. I think I'm also having a revelation of, because there are some things that it's okay to have a default, and that's where you see the good habits developing.
Well, let me. That's a great question, and I most people ask that a bit later, but you're like razor sharp, so you asked it early. Just from a language perspective, we make a distinction. So what you just described are habits, and what we're after is automaticity, right? We want automatic habits. But here's the thing, and stay with the language and the vision for a second. You either have default habits, which are not good, or you can have discipline habits, which are good. Either way, you're going to be automatic. That's what a habit is. A habit is an automatic set of ways of thinking, feeling, behaving, responding that produces an outcome.
That really helps me a lot, because I'm looking at these words, I'm looking at how they're broken up. I think this is so good for everybody to be thinking about, because to me, the key to all of this is, where are you allocating your decision-making time?
Yes.
Because if you are spending too much time trying to decide whether or not you're going to be disciplined and go to the gym today and make that a good habit, you're wasting that decision-making time where that could start to become more of a habit if you just sort of go through the reps, right? Do the rotation. Because you're going to have so many other defaults that you need to fight throughout the rest of the day.
Well, we do a pretty cool thing at the end of the workshop, end of our workbook. And by the way, this is called all comes from something we call the R factor, which I'll explain in a second. But it's the equation E plus R equals O, which is event plus response equals outcome. And then when you plug that system in and you connect it to discipline over default, now all of a sudden you have a system and a view, a framework to execute moment to moment, day to day. Because events happen all the time, right? And when an event happens, you either respond with discipline or you respond on default. And that's why matching ERO and discipline over default is so fantastic. Because when an event happens, and if you're trained in this, we have a skill set that we teach people. We give you the ability to navigate through a situation and have deep situational awareness and self-awareness. Am I responding with discipline or am I responding on default? And it's an effective thing. Now, at the end of the workshop, we have something called the 30-day discipline-driven challenge. And we say, to your point, take one thing in your life that you want to be more disciplined in. One thing, just one thing. And in the morning, when you get up, say to yourself, today, my intention is, and then you fill in the blank. My purpose for that, the why, is you fill in the blank. The skill that I'm going to build is going to be, and then you fill that in. And then you go do that day. You pay attention to that specific habit you want to build into your life. At the end of the day, you look back and reflect. Okay, what did I do? How did I do? When events popped up, did I respond well? Was I disciplined or default? And you don't beat yourself up, because we believe mistakes are simply feedback. It's just learning. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. Of course you will. Don't be afraid of making them. Be afraid of not trying. That you should be afraid of, but don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are an opportunity to go again with greater insight. So look back on your day and learn from it, and then think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this again. And it's the exact same thing every day for 30 days. So you write the same thing down every morning. Nothing new. Nothing new.
I
And
love this because I
and
just
those are,
think,
by the way, those are the reps you're talking about. Those are reps.
yeah,
And we
there's,
call it, and write this down, reps and reflection, right? That's that second piece, Amy, is really important. Reflect.
yeah, reflection is so big. And we talk a lot about reflection around here. We talk a lot about just having a little bit of take a step back, a little bit of stoicism mentality of thinking about your responses differently. But what I like about this is it actually gives you an equation to figure out what your response is. Because time after time after time, take something very simple, probably something a lot of people are dealing with at this moment in history where we're all at home and we are around a lot of the same people, if we're lucky enough to have people around us right now. And you just get into a little tiff and then you can't leave because you're stuck in your house right now, right? But this happens all the time. And how do you choose your response differently? How do you keep these things from happening, or how do you just take them better in stride? It can be really easy to just tell yourself, oh, you got to do better next time. You got to stop reacting that way. You got to stop this. You got to stop that. That's easy. You can always tell yourself what not to do. But actually trying to figure out how to approach it next time is all over the place because you're not the expert. You don't know and you haven't had your reps. So when you reflect on it, you don't have a plan. And I think this intention, purpose, skill process really helps in so many ways.
Yeah, yeah. So the I love what you just said too, because as much as I love discipline over default as a vision, right? As a visionary, as a picture of what we want to do,
Yeah.
and then E plus R equals O as a system, you still need skills. And so we teach 6 skills. There are 6 competencies for managing the R in that equation. Now, I'll just list them real fast because this is what equips people with the ability to manage their R with intention and purpose and skill. And because it's one thing to say ERO, it's another thing to actually use it in your life
Right.
as you're navigating stuff. And I thought you articulated pretty well that it's just, don't tell yourself just the things not to do, but put a skill set in place to do the things that you need to do and then learn from it. And here they are real quick. Here we call them the 6 R factor disciplines. Oh, real quick. You'll love this, Amy. You above all people will love this. The word discipline does not mean punishment.
Oh,
It was
gosh, yeah.
it was hijacked by the punishment people years ago, and it doesn't mean
The
punishment.
punishment police. Can we get that?
It's awful, And when I ask people, they see discipline over default, and I ask folks, I said, "What do you think the word discipline means?" And people, they don't even know. How about this? It's Latin for learning.
Wow.
It means learning.
I didn't know
Student.
that.
Yeah, my
Wow.
Latin teacher in high school would come in every day to class and say, "Salve discipuli." Salve means greetings. Discipuli means students. So all discipline means, I love this. Discipline is not something someone does to you. It's something you choose to do for yourself. And I call it this: be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. Grow. Just be better a little bit. And growth. I'll say this too. Again, back to neuroscience. All growth, all skill building, all learning, all change is slow, small, and daily. And I can't change that, by the way. That's inviolable. It's not big. It's not fast, and it doesn't happen right now.
Right.
Slow, small, daily. All growth, all skill building, all change happens slow, small, daily. So the process of discipline-driven behavior is just simply the systematic day-to-day process of building competency, building skill, building awareness, building ability in my life. And it's a journey. And it's the most exciting journey you can possibly be on. And what you don't want to do, and this is why it's seductive, default is easy. Discipline isn't. And default's popular, and discipline isn't. Default is celebrated in social media, unfortunately, and discipline is not. And you mentioned stoicism. The Stoics, Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, and that gang. They're the ultimate discipline over default mindset and philosophy. So here are the six disciplines.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Here are the 6 disciplines for managing your R above that line. And it's number 1 is press pause. And the purpose of pause is just gain clarity about the situation, which we're not very good at, but it's really powerful to have a press pause discipline in your life to say, and use the system. You say, what O do I want? What E do I have? And what R do I need? That's the question you ask yourself. So I mean, a situation pops up and you press pause. You don't react, because your first reaction is rarely your best. So you stop and you don't act on that reaction. You have it, you're aware of it, but you press pause, you step away from it for a moment and simply ask, okay, what's the E that I'm in? What's the O that I actually want? And what R will get me there? And ask those questions and gain clarity. That's number one. Number two is get your mind right. And the purpose of getting your mind right is to create the emotional energy that you need to do what's necessary. We say create the mindset required for the situation that you're in. And the interesting thing about get your mind right is that different situations call for different mindsets. Yeah. So when we say get your mind right, we mean right for the situation. So I'm driving my car. It's a lot of traffic on the highway. There's a certain mindset I need in order to be a safe driver. And then I get to my office or get home and I get a phone call and it's a friend who has an issue, a problem, and I need to listen. I got to shift my mindset from the driving to the listening to my friend. Or my wife turns to me and she wants to share something. She's a substitute teacher and she wants to talk about some kindergarten kids that she worked with, and I got to shift into that mindset to listen to her. Then I got to go to back in my den or my office and I got to do some work, so those are all different mindsets. And so we call that emotional agility. And that's the ability to shift your mindset from situation to situation to be effective. And another way to say that, Amy, would be create the energy necessary for the situation you're in. Because emotion is energy. It's what it is. And we can't allow situations to dictate our energy. We've got to bring energy to situations. And that's that's a superpower right there, what I just said.
That's hard and it's critical.
I know. And that's why we teach it. We teach how to do that, which is really cool. Number one is press pause for clarity. Number two, get your mind right for energy. Number three is step up, and that's for action, for disciplined action, effective action. Take the action you need for the outcome you want. And the really cool thing is we call it the necessary R. For every O that you want, there's a disciplined R available. Find it and do it. Don't mess around. For every O you want, there's a necessary R. And it may be something that's uncomfortable. It may be something you're not good at. Go do it anyway. Embrace it. And notice that taking action is preceded by clarity and energy. We do not start with action. We start with awareness, then we go to energy, and then we go to action. And I know there's three more, but think about it for a second, and for all of your listeners and followers, think of the power in your life. If you are clear, positive energy, and you take consistent disciplined action, what could you accomplish? Clarity, energy, action. Those are powerful, powerful dynamics in the human life. And they're learned. They're not natural. They're learned. The fourth is adjust and adapt, which makes sense if you think about it. Because I'm going to press pause for clarity, get my mind right for energy, step up and take action, but it doesn't always work.
Right.
The R that I chose may not have been effective enough, or I didn't fully understand the situation. And so I reflect on the O, and if I didn't get the O that I wanted, I got to choose a better R and improve my R. That's adjust, be flexible. Or maybe the E changes on me. Like right now with COVID-19, there's some big adjust and adapt going on all over the place. Yeah. And flexible people are thriving right now, or at least doing well. Inflexible people are suffering. Yeah. And that's a self-inflicted wound. So the O that you get is driven by the R that you choose. If you're not getting the O that you want, choose a different R. It's not fancy. Don't be stubborn, right?
It's really simple math.
Yeah. The fifth is cool. It's make a difference. And here's where that goes. And so 1, 2, 3, and 4, pause, get your mind right, step up, adjust, and adapt is how you manage yourself. Number 5 is how your behavior affects the people around you. Using the equation, your R is an E for others, whether you know it or not. And people experience your R 3 ways. They experience your attitude, they experience your action, and they experience your words. They feel your attitude, they see your actions, and they hear your words. And so in the workshop, we teach how to make a difference in attitude, action, and words to deliver a positive experience to people around us, whether it's a work team you're on or an athletic team you play on or family or a marriage or a friendship or a partnership. But manage your R to give other people a great experience. And then the sixth, no surprise, is build skill, which is back to what is your plan for building the skill that you need for the life that you want. And that all this is a journey, all this is a competency. And that the three big, we call it three decisions you have to make if you want to be growing every day. And that is choose the mindset, do the work, and be coachable. Those are the three choices if you want to become elite, is you have to choose the mindset, a learning mindset, a growth mindset, a mindset that says, I want to be better today than yesterday. Zero talent required, by the way. I'm not interested in your IQ, to be honest. I'm not interested in, not you personally, but I mean, I tell people,
Yeah.
I don't care about IQ or talent or aptitude. I don't care. You know the reason why? None of us had any say in how much or how little talent we got at birth. Zero.
Mm.
Zero. You know, and I got 4 grandkids, and my most recent granddaughter was born in Brooklyn, New York in February, and I picked her up, and her name's Isla. She's named for my mom. And I said to her, of course she couldn't understand me, but I said to her, "Sweetie, you got what you got. Whatever talent you were going to be born with from this moment forward, it's about mindset and doing the work. And as you get older, we're going to help you do that." And just so it's amazing to me. I think there's a little bit too much emphasis, candidly, on talent today, and not enough
Yeah.
emphasis on mindset, doing the work, and being coachable. So those are the 6. Pause, get your mind right, take action, step up, adjust and adapt, make a difference, and build skill. And they work. They're effective.
It's amazing because it's a reverse engineering of what that outcome is. And
Yes.
and it's
Well said.
always thinking about what is the end goal here. You can continue to flounder through your days. You can continue to be a reaction or a victim to whatever is happening around you. Or you can think, no, I actually want something different. And if that's the case, no one's going to hand it to me. You have to figure out what the process is to get there. This outline is just such a beautiful display of how somebody could do that immediately. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if somebody already turned off the podcast because they're like, okay, I know exactly what
Yeah.
I need to do now.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I really want to get into the details. You've provided so much value. Before I do, though, I heard one concept that you talked about, and I think throughout this process, it's going to be hard to stay focused when you're pressing pause, you're getting your mind right, you get to that action. When you're at the adjust and adapt stage, some things might be happening in your mind like, "Oh, well, what didn't work? What wherever we're going next." And you've talked about the BCD rule. I want you to talk about what that is because I do think that it's important to people that people keep it in mind and don't resort to it on, a default.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. We have a strict no BCD rule, and BCD stands for blame, complain, defend. It's the ultimate default action. It's the ultimate default mindset. And what happens is, unfortunately, when people don't get what they want in life, which happens a lot, right? I mean, just because we engage in an R, we can even have a very, very effective R, but it doesn't guarantee the O. It just doesn't. If we're default in our response, you can guarantee something less than what we want, but it's just really challenging. But the BCD is no, don't blame, don't complain, don't defend. No BCD. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't. BCD does not improve relationships. It doesn't achieve any goals. It doesn't solve any problems. It just doesn't. And the and here's some things about it to think about why BCD is a horrible investment of time and energy. Number one is it's easy, but it doesn't work. So that's the first thing. It's easy to do,
Mm.
doesn't work. That's number one. Number two, it's popular. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
I mentioned social media. It's just social media is a breeding ground for BCD.
Mhm. Mhm.
And to be, and I don't mean to do this, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but I'm telling you, BCD is a worse virus than COVID-19,
Yeah.
and which means number three, it's contagious, it's social. And I'm finding a certain irony in all of the CV-19 about social distancing. That's what we need to do with BCD.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
the
just,
inside of your mind is so much to the importance of the health of your life. If you are there's going to be so many people in this world who are going to have a terrible circumstance happen that they're going to possibly obtain the coronavirus. To not be in a good mind space is to seal the deal
yeah,
on what something like that could do to you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've experienced in my life difficulty. I've experienced stuff. I've had health issues and stuff along the, as everybody probably has.
Mhm.
Have some now that I'm challenged with. You know what? Mindset's everything.
Mm.
So here's the other thing about BCD that's interesting is that it's habit forming.
Mhm.
When you do it once, it's easy to do it a second time, which is easier to do a third time. And that's really dangerous. And the final thing is BCD ruins your credibility.
Yes.
No one. Now this is another seductive thing here. This is another misleading thing about this stuff in life, and that is that when you BCD to somebody, they don't like it. They won't tell you that. Like when you gossip or you blame, complain, defend, your buddies, your friends, people around you, your acquaintances, they'll look at you. They may even engage in it with you. They don't walk away saying, "Wow, that person's really insightful. I want more of that person's." They don't. No, your credibility is diminished every single time you BCD.
I think the biggest thing about it is just like you said, it's contagious because there is no really good response to a BCD situation. Specifically, I think what's interesting is everyone hears about blame and complain, but I don't think we talk enough about being defensive or defending our case because a lot of people like to point to fact for that. No, no, no. I'm not defending myself. It's a fact. Okay. But why does that then make it worth anyone's time?
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that that's really dangerous because then when you're encountering a BCD situation, you end up getting defensive and then your weapon too, and it's just such a dangerous place to be because it's getting nowhere anywhere
yep,
really really
yep,
fast.
exactly. And so here's what we tell people, because I've done this long enough. I've seen people misuse the no BCD rule. I've seen a lot of managers and supervisors do this in organizations, and they use the no BCD rule to tell people to shut up.
Mm,
And that's not what we mean by it. So this is a really important element. Most of the things, this is a nuance here. Most of the things that people BCD about actually exist. They're real problems.
sure.
But here's what we're not saying. We're not telling you to be quiet and not talk about the problem. We're telling you not to BCD about it. And there's a nuance here. So here's the solution to BCD, and that is resolution or resilience. And that is when a problem pops up, absolutely talk about it. Put it on, like say you and I work together, let's say, Amy, and there's a problem, and you bring it to me or I bring it to you. We would talk about that. We'd put it on the table. We would say, here's what's going on. We'd talk about how we feel about it. Man, this is irritating. This is scary. There's nothing wrong with that. That is not BCD to put a problem on the table and say, this is frustrating. This is confusing. This is irritating. It's just not BCD yet anyway. But then we
Mm.
come to the defining moment. Now that we've identified the problem, we've articulated how we feel about it. Now, at that moment, if we start to BCD, we've slipped below the line into default. Or if we go into resolution or resilience, now we moved into discipline. And that's the dividing line. So the question is resolution or resilience. When you face a problem, either resolution, go solve it, or resilience, which is some problems can't be solved, so navigate through it with a great attitude.
Oh, wow. That is such a careful balance too. I
Oh, it's
because it
huge.
kind of it gives you the permission. You're allowed to feel a thing. You
Well, you
are
do feel
allowed
it.
to feel.
Absolutely, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is that balance of like when you get to a point where you're not just communicating how you feel, but then you're blaming, complaining, and just building it up so much that you're giving it power.
Absolutely. Yeah, you nailed that. That's exactly what happens. And when you BCD, you actually give the event more power. You take power away from yourself and you give it to the event. That's what happens
Mm,
when you BCD.
I
So
like
when someone comes to me and complains, and this might surprise you at least initially, I don't tell them to be quiet. In fact, here's my message to leaders. This to anybody. If someone comes to you in BCD, 3 steps: love, listen, redirect. Love them first. listen to them second, and then redirect their attention away from blaming into solutions or into resilience. So someone comes to me, talks with me clearly. In fact, usually if they know who I am, they'll say, well, Tim, I don't want a BCD, but.
Don't you love that?
Oh, yeah.
I know this is going to sound like I'm going to do the thing that you tell me not to do. However,
Yeah, exactly. And then off they go, right? And then it's just like a flow of BCD. But it doesn't bother me at all. And it goes again back to this bigger question that you ask at the beginning and end of all your podcasts about what we do and why, and what the best life is all about. But this is what I'm called to do. I mean, this is my mission, is to equip people with this mindset and skill set. So I listen to them. I love them. I listen to them. And then and I ask questions and they tell me more about that. And if I've, whatever time frame I have. And then I said, got it. This is going on. You're really upset about it. Okay. What are you going to do? And they're not really ready for that question. And so what they typically do, Amy, is they repeat how they feel, or they repeat what irritates them, or about I said, and I'll use your name just for fun here. I said, Amy, I got it. You've told me this is happening and you're not happy about it. I think I'm pretty clear about that. You don't need to repeat yourself. So let me repeat myself. What are you going to do? This is happening. And then if they're trained in ERO, I take out the system and we just put the system down. Right. So you just describe the E. Now tell me the O that you want, which they usually haven't done, by the way. They say it's vague. And then we get clarity on the O. And then it's okay. So here's the E, blah, 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 and you feel bad. And here's the O that you want. Cool. Now, what are you going to do? What's your R? What's the response you're going to choose? Oh, well, I tried 2 things. They didn't work. I said, awesome. What would be a third thing you could try?
Oh, God.
Or here's a really profound question. And I've had people break down in tears when I ask this question, or get angry with me. What's an R that you think might work, but you're afraid to try?
Mm-hmm. That's big. Dipping into that fear.
Yeah, we call it defeating fear. It's a big deal for us. Help people defeat fear. It's amazing how people are held back by fear.
Yeah. That's just like that's a whole nother podcast.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God. But I think I had a huge aha moment when you said, this is my calling. Just because there's a system and you've communicated it and somebody's trained in it or they're not, this is your calling. And being able to step into that and say, well, you know what? Someone feels compelled to talk to me about this.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what their approach is right now and how I have a stance on no BCD, I'm going to love, I'm going to listen. And then because this is my calling, I'm going to redirect because I know that there is a way to get this figured out.
Yeah.
And I think that's so big because a lot of times I just want to shake someone and go, hey, let's find a solution. But they're not ready for that yet. Yeah. They need to be heard first.
Well, it's interesting. The power of love, the power of empathy, the power of relationships, and then the power of just listening, right? Just the connecting, listening, and then the power of truth. The power of what I love about ERO is it's clear, it's very brief, and it's enormously accurate. Think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, and it's really accurate, and it's actionable. And I don't know very many things in the world that are that simple, that clear, and that accurate and that actionable. Now, it's accurate in the sense of it's a usable tool, meaning that you've got to use it to gain accuracy. Because just because ERO exists doesn't mean that you're using it and understanding the situation you're in. But it's a really powerful thing because it takes the mind. It takes the edge off of the difficulty of the situation and your mind starts to work on solving. It starts to work on a little less BCD, a little bit more, discipline, intentionality, and that's just a really cool thing. Great story here. I did R Factor training for a company. It's a global internet security company, and they have offices all over the world. And every year they do an annual meeting in Phoenix. And we taught them E+R=O and helped them with their culture. And their number one salesperson was a woman, single mom with teenage daughter who came down with cancer. And we taught E+R=O, and unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this. enough people there. I didn't know everybody's situation. But I meant that I was told later on that this woman had adopted E plus R equals O as her way of not only being great at the sales game inside the company, it became her cancer navigation resource. It's how she navigated all the challenges of cancer. And then she ended up sharing it with her daughter because she wanted her daughter to have access to the toolbox to deal with teenage life. And she battled cancer for 3 years, and she was the number one salesperson the entire time.
Wow.
And like 3 times then, when I would come back and do these keynotes, she would get the award for the number one salesperson. And the second to last year, she was, you could tell in the later stages of the battle, and had a mask on and stuff, and came up to the stage and thanked me profusely for the gift of E plus R equals O. And I couldn't, she was keeping her distance, and this wasn't COVID-19 related. It was just her own immune system was down. And then she thanked me and said, her daughter uses this tool, and then she passed away a few months later.
Oh, wow.
But there's an example of the efficacy of this, right? Its applicability spans life's footprint. And it's not just about football or basketball or swimming. It's not just about sales or service. It's not about production. It is those things. I mean, we teach it inside all of those domains, right? We enhance sales teams' performance. We enhance customer service. We help companies manage change. We help companies deal with mergers and acquisitions using these tools. But the really cool thing is almost everyone, Amy, when they get trained in this in the business, they take it home to their families.
Yeah.
Because it's how to live life. That's a really cool thing.
I just have had goosebumps for 40 minutes straight. So I just think we have to leave it at that. I don't have time to ask you about the details because you dropped so many details in this that everybody just needs to go back, park the car if you're driving or if you're on the treadmill, just go right back, everything down, look at the show notes and see, because there's just so much actionable advice here. I know that everybody can level up in their business and their life and their athletics, you name it. There's something to apply here. I'm curious to hear from you, not just where people can kind of follow up with you and learn more about your work, but what you're working on right now that you're excited about that people can check out.
Yeah, I mean, one, Twitter at Timothy Kight, and it's Kight. Real active there. Also LinkedIn, very active at LinkedIn, Tim Kight, Timothy Kight, and Kight. Find me there. Our website is focus3.com, and we are in the final stages of completing virtual training, which is this E plus R equals O training that I talked about is going to be available May 1 online, an online course.
Wonderful.
And it's really cool. It's broken up into really small segments. So each segment's about 4 minutes long. It's self-directed. We've priced it to be, I think, really affordable, lower than I think comparable programs like that are out there, because we want everyone to have it. And it's going to be really powerful. And I'm really excited about, because companies will buy it for their people, but I'm really excited about the individual market, if you will, that individuals can buy it. And I can envision, people purchasing this and, gathering their families around it and watching these segments. But like everything we talked about today, plus a whole lot more, we teach all 6 of the disciplines: how to press pause, how to get your mind right, how to step up. And so that's going to be available to folks, and super, super excited about that.
Wonderful. When that's available, we will make sure that we link to that in the show notes. You guys have to check that out. Clearly, this is something we all need. And Timothy, just thank you. So I'm going to call you TK because I just feel like I'm your friend now. So
Yeah.
TK. Hey, in a few minutes, I would love to record the Secret Podcast with you if you're up for it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Cool. You guys can find out more details about that at patreon.com/AmyTV. Before we do that, though, I have to ask you, TK, my final question. What does it mean to you to go after the life you want?
Well, I think, Amy, from this, the answer to that question. And what it means for me is doing what I'm doing. I mean, I when my alarm goes off in the morning, my mission is to go teach this stuff to as many people as I possibly can, whether it's a live workshop. Right now, a lot of Zoom workshops with clients, writing blogs on my website or Twitter, 2 Minutes with TK, which are these videos that are out there that we do, which people can check out on YouTube. But it's doing this work every day, serving people, helping people apply these skills to their life and be a little bit better every single day. Me doing that is what my life is about.
TK, thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome, Amy. Thanks for having me.
All right. There are so many details from this conversation. Let's try to recap the best we can. First of all, E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. I'm going to provide a video for you to check out about this in the show notes, but I think we heard a lot about what all of this means, and this is clearly the best way to look at how we get what we want, what we can do to control the controllable, and still be able to move forward when there are things we cannot control. What is your response? Discipline isn't a bad word. It's something positive that you do for yourself. Is it hard? Yes. Is it worth it? Hell yes. And finally, when someone BCDs, blames, complains, or defends, what you do in response is love, listen, and then redirect. Question of the day. What's a response, or an R, as TK would call it, that you think would work that you're afraid to try? I know when he asked this question earlier, you were thinking about an issue or a problem in your life, and you knew there was a potential response that you're just not doing because it could actually work. And you're a little fearful for what that would mean. If you can think of something, come over to our latest Instagram post at Details Podcast and share your thoughts. Make sure you go say hi to Tim on Twitter at Timothy Kight, and more details about all of the resources he has to offer will be in the show notes at gatlu.com. The Secret Podcast is live in Shine Squad as well with Tim. And oh my gosh, when you listen to this and hear about what he said in response to getting rid of negative people in your life, boom. Aha moment once again. Do not miss it. That's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, remember, subscribe for good vibes, kiss the ones you love, and go after the life you want. Cheers.